Hey there folks, Dr. Saul, the solving surgeon, back talking to you about solving equations, specifically word problems. Now here's a question. Why did the tonsils get all dressed up? Because I heard the doctor was taking them out.
First thing we're going to do is review solving equations. So remember, when we're solving equations, our goals are to simplify, move, solve. Step 1, simplify each side if possible. After you simplify both sides of the equation, then you move to step 2, which is moving the variables to the left side of the equation. After that, we move the constants to the right side of the equation, and then lastly, you should have your answer. Now with word problems, there's a couple things that you need to remember. First, don't be scared. They're just words. Everybody comes up to a word problem and then either freaks out or skips it. So what you need to do is you need to see that it's a word problem and don't be scared. Step 2, locate what the problem is asking you to find. It's usually the last sentence. So just check out that last sentence. It's probably going to tell you exactly what it wants you to find. Based on that, you then define your variables. You may have one, you may have multiple. After you've defined your variables, you're going to look for a total and write an equation equal to that total. Finally, you can solve that equation and make sure your answer is in a sentence.
What do you call two surgeons? A paradox. It's example time.
Now, example 1 says the selling price of a television at Best Buy is $64, less than 3 times the wholesale price. If the selling price of a television is $899, write and solve an equation to find the wholesale price of the television. So, what do we do first? Well, we are not scared. We're ready to go. So step 2 would be to figure out what is the problem asking you to find. We are trying to find the wholesale price of the television. So, based on that information, we move to step 3, which is define your variable. So, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the wholesale price of the television. So our variable in this case would be W equals the wholesale price of the television. You could have made it X or Y or whatever you want, but I just figured since it's wholesale price, I made it W. Next, we can write our equation. So let's do that. Based on this information, what is the total? Well, it's saying if the selling price of the television is $899, that means that's going to be our total. Now, what other relevant information can we use to make our equation? So we know it's equal to $899, the selling price, but what else do we know? We know the selling price of the television at Best Buy is $64 less than 3 times the wholesale price. So how do I write 64 less than 3 times the wholesale price? Well, 3 times the wholesale price is 3W, and $64 less than 3W would be 3W minus 64. And we just set that equal to 899, and we now have an equation that we can solve. Simplify, move, solve. It's already simplified on both sides, so we move the variables to the left. Done. Constants need to go to the right. We start with anything add or subtracted, so we add 64 to both sides. These cancel out. 899 plus 64 gives you 963. We then have to move all the constants to the right, so we have to divide both sides by 3 to get rid of that 3. We end up with W is equal to 321. Again, we have solved this, but you need to, in a word problem, write your answer as a sentence. So what does W equals 321 mean? That means that the wholesale price of the television is $321.
You guys ever watch Dr. Phil? That guy cracks me up. Cash me outside, how about that? You try.
Okay, it says Angie and Kenny play Xbox One. Angie buys an Xbox Live membership for 3 months of gameplay. Kenny buys an Xbox Live membership for 2 months of gameplay. Each membership comes with a one-time $20 fee. If their cost is $115 at the end of 3 months, what is the cost of 1 month of gameplay? Go through our steps for a word problem. Step 1, we're not scared. We're ready to go. So step 2, we need to figure out what is this problem asking us? What are we trying to find? Well, it says, what is the cost of 1 month of gameplay? So we need to figure out what is the cost of 1 month. So step 3 then, we define our variable. And based on this information, we can define our variable. What is the cost of 1 month? We're going to say M is the cost per month. Sweet. Now we move to writing our equation. Is there a total here that we can use? Yes, $115, right? If their total cost is $115. Now, their total cost is key because that means we have to add together both of their memberships. So, Angie buys an Xbox Live membership for 3 months and Kenny buys it for 2 months. So, Angie's is going to be 3 times the cost per month. So, 3 times M. Kenny's is going to be 2 times M. Sweet. Is there any other fees? Yeah. Each membership comes with a one-time $20 fee. So Angie's is going to be 3M plus 20. Kenny's is going to be 2M plus 20. And that's going to add up to $115. Sweet. Now we have our equation. We just got to solve that. We can figure out our answer. So let's do that. Simplify, move, solve. Can we simplify this side? Yes. We have a couple like terms. We have the M's that are like terms and then those 20s we can add together. So we're going to use the commutative property, switch these two guys. That way we can add together like terms. 3M plus 2M gives me 5M, and then 20 plus 20 is 40. Now we've simplified. We need to move. So we move variables to the left. Done. Constants got to go to the right. We start with anything added or subtracted. So this positive 40, we subtract 40 on both sides. These cancel out, and we're left with 5m is equal to 75. We then get rid of our last constant by dividing both sides by 5. These cancel out. I'm left with m is equal to 15. Last step, again, it's a word problem, so write your answer as a sentence. What does m equals 15 mean? That means the cost of 1 month of gameplay is $15. Okay, example 2 says a store on Main Street is selling wind chimes. The rent on the store is $125 per day. The profit from each wind chime sold is $12. The owner's goal is to make $3,500 in a 5-day work week. Write an equation to find the number of chimes she must sell to meet her goal and solve. Okay, let's do this. Step 1, we're not scared. We're ready to go. So step 2, we need to find what this problem is asking. So what are we trying to find? Find the number of chimes. Boom, done. Step 3, define our variables. So we're going to use this, find the number of chimes. So C is equal to the number of wind chimes. Sweet. Now we're going to write our equation. Is there a total? The owner's goal is to make $3,500 in a 5-day work week. So that is going to be our total. What other relevant information can we use now? We know it's equal to $3,500, but what's on the other side? Well, it says the profit from each wind chime is $12. So 12 times C is going to represent our profit. It also says that the rent on the store is $125 per day. Now, this is interesting because it's $125 per day. It's not just $125. So what we actually have to do, since it's per day, we're going to make another variable. And we're going to put D is equal to the number of days. So here's how we can write our equation. We know it's equal to 3,500. So we're going to do our profit, which is 12 times the number of wind chimes. So 12 times C. But then we have to take away the rent, right? Because we have to pay out of our profit the rent. So 12C minus 125 per day, so times the number of days, is equal to 3,500. Well, we have two variables now. I don't like that. Is there any way I can get rid of one of these variables? Is there any information I can plug in for one of these variables? I don't have the number of chimes, but I make $3,500 in a 5-day work week. So the number of days then would be 5. Now I can simplify, move, solve. So let's do that. Simplify. Can we simplify this side? Yes. So negative 125 times 5 gives me negative 625. Now I move variables to the left. Done. Constants got to go to the right. So we start with anything added or subtracted. I'm going to add 625 to both sides. Here, these cancel out, and I get 12C is equal to 4,125. Now to get the number of chimes, I need to move all the constants to the right. So I divide both sides by 12 to get rid of this 12 over here. I'm left with C is equal to 343.75. Now, can you sell 0.75 of a wind chime? I guess you could, but I don't think anybody would want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to round up because we need to have a higher profit than that in order to meet our goal. So what we're going to say is the owner must sell 344 wind chimes per week, because if you rounded down, you wouldn't be making your goal. So we have to round up to 344 wind chimes.
You know, I can make it through surgeries and different procedures, but one thing I can't watch is Dr. Pimple Popper. It's just super gross. You try.
Okay, so we'll do A first. It says Netflix offers a membership of $5 per month. Members can rent movies for $1.50 per rental. A member was billed $15.50 1 month. Write and solve an equation to find how many movies the member rented. So we start. Step 1, not skirt. Step 2, what are we trying to find? It says find how many movies the member rented. So step 3, define our variables. Well, it says find how many movies the member rented. So technically you can do M for the number of movies the member rented, or you can do R for number of rented movies. So step 4, find a total, write our equation. So what is our total? $15.50 the member was billed for 1 month. Sweet. So it's going to be equal to $15.50. So what goes on the other side? Well, it's $150 per rental. So I'm going to do $150 times R. Is there any other information, any other fees? Yeah, the membership fee. It's $5 per month. We see per month. That means times the number of months. That means we need another variable. So we go M is equal to the number of months. Now we can write our equation. So it's going to be $150 times R plus that membership fee. So $5 times M, the number of months, is equal to our total right now, which is $15.50. Now we have two variables. There's got to be something we can plug in for one of these variables. Well, look at this. 1550 1 month. So he was billed 1550 1 month. That means we can plug in 1 for the number of months. Yes, now we just have one variable, so we can simplify, move, solve. So we simplify. Can we simplify this? Yes, 5 times 1 equals 5. Sweet. Now we move variables to the left. Done. Constants got to go to the right. We start with anything added or subtracted to our variable, so that would be this 5. It's got to go. Since it's positive 5, I subtract 5 on both sides. These are going to cancel out. I'm left with 150r is equal to 1050. Now, to get all the constants to the right, I have to divide both sides by 150. These then cancel out. I get r is equal to 7. Now, that is not your answer. What is your answer? You got to answer as a sentence. The member rented 7 movies. Okay, part B says the length of a rectangle is 6 meters less than the width. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 52 meters, find the dimensions. So, first step, we're not scared. Second step, we need to figure out what is it asking. It says find the dimensions. What are dimensions? That's length and width. So we need to find the length and the width. So we move to step 3, define our variables. Based on what we're asked to find, we're going to define our variables. So we need length and width. Don't just go W equals width and L equals length. We only want one variable. That way we can solve for that variable. If we have 2, we can't solve for one specific variable. So we look back at the problem. It says the length of a rectangle is 6 meters less than the width. So I can make an equation for the length based on the width, meaning I should set W equal to the width, so that when I make my equation for the length is equal to 6 meters less than the width. So W minus 6. That is going to be equal to our length. Sweet. Now we have our width and our length, and it's only one variable. That way we can solve. Now that we've done that, we need to write our equation. Is there a total here? Yes, 52 meters. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our equation and set it equal to 52 meters. But what's our equation? It says if the perimeter of the rectangle is 52 meters. So perimeter. What's the perimeter of a rectangle formula? That's 2 times the width plus 2 times the length. So we're going to do that. 2 times the width plus 2 times the length is equal to our perimeter. Now we have our equation. Sweet. So we can solve for W. Let's do it. Step 1, solve an equation. We simplify. So let's simplify this side. Can I multiply these together? Yeah. 2 times W is 2W. What about over here? There's nothing to do in the parentheses, but I can distribute that 2 to the W and the negative 6. So I end up getting 2W plus 2W minus 12 is equal to 52. Now am I done simplifying? No. I have 2 like terms, so I'm going to add those together. Now I have an equation that I have simplified, so I move to step 2, which is to move the variables to the left. Done. Step 3, constants need to go to the right. So I start with anything added or subtracted. This minus 12 has got to go. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. These cancel out. I'm left with 4W's equal to 64. Now to get rid of this 4, all the constants got to go to the right. Instead of multiplying it by 4, I divide 4 on both sides. These cancel out. I'm left with W is equal to 16. Do not just leave this as your answer. Since it's a word problem, you write your answer as a sentence. W equals 16 means the width of the rectangle is 16 meters, and the length is going to be 16 minus 6, which is 10 meters. Okay, example 3 says 2 buses leave Houston at the same time and travel in opposite directions. One bus averages 55 miles per hour and the other bus averages 45 miles per hour. When will they be 400 miles apart? Step 1, not scared. Step 2, what are we trying to find? It's asking when will they be 400 miles apart. So we're going to use that in step 3, which is to define our variables. What are our variables going to be? Well, what is it asking? When will they be 400 miles apart? So that's time, right? When. So we're going to make our variable h for the number of hours. Now we can write our equation. Is there a total that we can set this equal to? Well, it says when will they be 400 miles apart? So yeah, we're going to make it 400 miles. So whatever our equation is, it's going to be equal to 400 miles apart. Now it says they are traveling in opposite directions, and we want to figure out when will they be 400 miles apart. So what you know is that if they both start in the same point and travel in opposite directions, one's going to have one distance from the starting point and the other is going to have another distance from the starting point. In order to be 400 miles apart, we have to add those distances together and set it equal to 400. So it's going to be the bus 1 distance plus the bus 2 distance from the starting point is equal to 400. Sweet, now we got that. What can we do now? Well, what do we know about distance? We know distance is actually equal to rate times time. So the bus 1 distance is the same thing as the bus 1 rate times the bus 1 time. The bus 2 distance is the same thing as the bus 2 rate times the bus 2 time. Now we look back at the problem. Is there anything we can plug into these? Yes. Bus 1 averages 55 miles per hour. That can go in bus 1 rate. Bus 2, the other bus, averages 45 miles per hour. That goes in the bus 2 rate. What about the time? Well, it says when will they be 400 miles apart? Technically, it's going to be the same time for both, because when you're trying to figure out when will they be 400 miles apart, it's after the same amount of time. So we're just going to plug in H for bus 1 time and H for bus 2 time. Sweet. Now we got an equation. So we solve our equation by simplifying, moving, solving. So we start with simplifying. Can we simplify? Yes. 55H plus 45H is going to give me 100H. Now we're done simplifying. So step 2 would be variables to the left. Done. Step 3, constants to the right. This 100 has to go. So since it's 100 times H, I do the opposite. I divide both sides by H. These cancel out. I get H is equal to 4. Do not leave this as your answer. You're going to answer in a sentence. What is it asking? When will they be 400 miles apart? After 4 hours, they will be 400 miles apart.
Why couldn't the dad figure out his child's temperature? Because he was using a thermometer. You try.
Okay, so this one says 2 planes left an airport at noon. One flew east and the other flew west at twice the speed. After 4 hours, the planes were 2,400 miles apart. How fast was each plane flying? So again, step 1, not skirt. Step 2, what is it asking? It's asking how fast was each plane flying. So when we define our variable, we're going to base it off of that. If it's asking how fast each plane was flying, we have 2 separate planes. So we're going to say S is going to be the speed of our first plane. So what would be the speed of the second plane? Well, it says one flew east and the other flew west at twice the speed. So the other was going twice as fast, which means 2 times S is actually going to be the speed of the second plane. So this is great because now I have each of these and there's only one variable. Now we can write our equation. Is there a total? The planes were 2,400 miles apart. So whatever we get, it's going to be equal to 2,400 miles. And again, one is flying east, the other is flying west. So it's just like the other problem in that they were flying opposite directions. So we can do plane 1 distance plus plane 2 distance is equal to 2,400. Now, what do we know about distance? It's equal to rate times time. So plane 1 distance is the same as plane 1 rate times plane 1 time, just as plane 2 distance is the same as plane 2 rate times plane 2 time. Now, is there anything we can plug in here? Well, the plane 1 rate is S. That's the speed of the first plane. Plane 2 rate is 2S. That goes in here. Is there a time? Yeah, it says after 4 hours. So we plug in a 4 for the plane 1 and the plane 2 time. Now, great, we have our equation. All we have to do is solve. So step 1, simplify. Can we simplify this? Yes, S times 4 is 4S and 2S times 4 is 8S. Sweet. Can we simplify even more? Yeah, these are like terms because it's S to the first, S to the first. So you add those together. What's 4S plus 8S? That is 12S. Now I have simplified, so move my variable to the left. Done. Step 3, constants need to go to the right. So this 12 has to go. 12 times S, the opposite of that or inverse would be dividing by 12. So I divide both sides by 12. These cancel out. I get S is equal to 200. That is not your answer. Answer in a sentence. How fast was each plane flying? So S is the speed of the first plane. So the first plane was flying 200 miles per hour. The second plane was flying twice as fast, so 400 miles per hour. Okay, the challenge problem says 4 friends play 18 holes of golf. 2 of them need to rent clubs at $5 per set, and the total car rental is $10. The total cost of the golf outing, including green fees, is $92. Write an equation to represent the total cost of the golf outing. How much did each friend pay in green fees? So, step 1, not skirt. Step 2, we need to figure out what is it asking. It's asking how much did each friend pay in green fees. Boom, done. Step 3, define our variables. We're going to use what they're asking for in our variables. So, G, let's represent green fees per person. Now that I have this, I can write my equation. Is there a total? Yes, the total cost is $92. So I'm going to write my equation equal to $92. What goes on the other side? Well, I have 4 friends playing golf, so 4 of them have to pay a greens fee. So it's going to be 4 times G. Plus, what else? It's $5 per set of clubs. Well, I don't have anything to represent the set of clubs, so I'm going to say S is going to equal the number of sets of clubs for right now. So it's going to be 4 times G plus 5 times S, the number of sets of clubs we need, plus $10 to rent the car. So we write 5 times S, which is how much we're spending on club rentals, plus 4 times G, which is how much it costs for the greens fees, plus $10 for the car rental. So what do I do since I have 2 variables? I need to get rid of one of these. This S right here, it's $5 per set. How many people are renting clubs? 2. We know that, so we can plug in a 2 for S. Now we have an equation we can solve, so simplify, move, solve. We're going to simplify each side of the equation. Can we simplify this? Yes. What's 5 times 2? That's 10. Now I can simplify this further, right? This is a like term with this. Let's switch these around using the commutative property. Now 10 plus 10 equals 20. Now I need to move my variables to the left. Done. Constants need to go to the right. So this 20 has to go to the other side. How do I do that? Well, since it's plus 20, I do the opposite. I subtract 20 on both sides. These cancel out. I get 4G is equal to 72. Now to get G all by itself, I need to move all of the constants to that side. Since it's 4 times G, I do the opposite, the inverse. I divide both sides by 4. These cancel out. I'm left with 72 divided by 4, which is 18. This is not your answer. Your answer is each friend pays $18 in green fees. Boom, done.